Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon to the judges, teachers, guests, participants, and everyone present. Here's a hearty welcome, big and warm enough to encompass you all. To say we are thrilled to see you is an understatement. Greetings to all of our audience to the 9th Online Fully Residential Schools International Symposium 2021. We have finally reached our last, but definitely not least session for today.
Hannah, we have finally reached our last session. Are you still enthusiastic to continue?
Yes, Shamim, I'm feeling very excited and I can't wait to watch all the remaining teams' video presentations. I'm learning a lot today and I'm looking forward to more.
I feel the same way, Hannah. I hope the audience are well rested and feel energetic like us after the break. By the way, are there any form of reward awaiting our loyal audience?
Of course there are. For your information, an online quiz link is pinned in the chat box. We have different sets of questions for our online quizzes according to the tracks. If you manage to answer 80% of the questions correctly, you will be rewarded with an International Achievement e-certificate. Make sure to not miss out on this amazing opportunity.
As scheduled, we will have 14 teams overall to present their research videos. And in this session, we are going to look at the presentations from the last 5 teams. Ladies and gentlemen, we feel honored to have with us today 3 honorable judges from various schools and institutions. Our chief judge for today is Mr. Nik Zahir bin Nik Muhammad Idris. He is a Vice President too from Society of Vibration and Acoustic Malaysia. Next, our second judge is Ms. Nurul Fazlina binti Badru Zaman from Sekolah Menengah Sultan Abdul Halim. And lastly, our third and final judge is Ms. Amalia Lopez from Sekolah Menengah Sains Sabah. We would like to welcome all judges to our live streaming today. I, Syami binti Harun, and my co-moderator Hannah Atikah binti Zul Hazami are both from Sekolah Seri Puteri, Cyberjaya. Thank you very much for staying with us until our last session today.
Prior to starting today's event, I will firstly read the rules. Number 1. The presentation must focus on the sub-theme assigned to each team. In this track, the sub-theme is COVID-19, the rise of digital revolution. Number 2. The duration of the video presentation should not be more than 10 minutes. And number 3, a question and answer session will be conducted after each presentation.
Now, we will continue on with the first team from Sekolah Berasrama Penuh Integrasi Gombak. Let us have the presenters, Ahmad Atif Adham bin Muhammad Nazri and Christina Sofia binti Muhammad Zain to join our session. Without wasting any time, let's enjoy their research video on students and teachers' perceptions on COVID-19 tracing app, a case study of sustainable IoT tool in SBPI Gombak.
Hello, I'm Atif.
Hi, I'm Christina.
Hello, I'm Shahira.
Hi, I'm Adam. The pandemic has led to numerous efforts to contain the virus. Application that traces contact with COVID-19 infected individuals offers advice on how to prevent infections. The study investigated factors that can influence the SBPI Gombak citizen willingness to use MySejahtera application that traces contact with COVID-19 diagnosed individuals. According to Warif et al., despite previous researches done by academians, questions still remains about the factors that influence citizens' uptake of COVID-19 contact tracing applications. Therefore, the aim of our research is to identify factors that influence individuals' intention to use a COVID-19 application by adopting the health belief model's perspective. The health belief model states that in response to a threat, an individual's health behavior is determined by 2 cognitive processes. First, how severe one assesses the consequences of a threat, and second, how efficient and feasible a protection behavior is. Our study will focus on 4 research questions below. First, does one's perceived susceptibility or perceived risk of contracting COVID-19 leads to inclination to adopt tracing apps such as MySejahtera? Second, does one's perceived benefits of using MySejahtera leads to willingness to use the app? Third, does the current debate on the protection of app users' privacy forms perceived barriers to adopt the app? And lastly, does potential differences in genders, age, and education determines one's willingness to adopt MySejahtera?
Research done by academicians on COVID-19 tracing app can be traced back to as early as year 2020, as most of the tracing apps were only introduced by different countries in that particular year after the virus declared as pandemic. Most of these researchers focus more on contact tracing and symptom tracking systems, and some researchers concentrated on the association between app usage and the epidemiological spread of the virus. Some studies have focused more on the difference between apps implemented in several countries. Some other previous study has analyzed the legal or ethical aspect of COVID-19 tracing apps from data protection and legal perspective. Moving on to our conceptual definition. Conceptual definition means the identification of the term used in the study, which in turn becomes the pillar of the study itself. The terminology used in the study do not need to be elaborated literally by word. Conceptual definition also determines the scope of the study. For our first definition, which is COVID-19, coronavirus disease is an infectious disease caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people infected with the virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring special treatment. However, some of them will become seriously ill, especially those with underlying medical conditions. For our second definition, which is the tracing apps are technological artifacts that apply process of identifying all people that a COVID-19 patient has come in contact with in the last 2 weeks. It is also an IoT tool that manages the system to identify cases and much more. The health belief model is the most appropriate model to be used as a theoretical framework for this topic, as it posits optimal behavior changes of the users if they successfully target perceived barriers, benefits, self-efficacy, and threat. In the context of COVID-19, the health belief model states that in response to a threat, an individual's health behavior is determined by two cognitive processes. The figure represents the theoretical framework of how items in the adopted questionnaire were designed in the first place by Michael Warwick.
Moving on to Chapter 3, which is the research methodology applied in the study. Our study was conducted online involving teachers and students of SDG Integrasi Gombak. An online survey using Google Form was administered to respondents aged 13 to 64 years old. 50 respondents from SDG Integrasi Gombak were randomly chosen from different backgrounds and forms. The sampling represents 10% of the total population of the school denizens. According to Rahi et al. 2019, a good maximum sample size is usually around 10% of the total population. The data from the questionnaire were descriptively analyzed using the statistical program IBM SPSS version 24. Next is the research instrument. In this quantitative study, the research instrument used is a set of questionnaire. It is adopted from a validated questionnaire used by Michael Warwick, a PhD researcher from Group MILS, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Antwerp in 2020. The type of scale used is the Likert scale, and response levels ranging from negative to positive. Moving on is the measures taken in the questionnaire. The HBM constructs were measured following Champion's recommendations. All answers were on 5-point Likert scales ranging from disagree to agree. Perceived susceptibility was measured with 3 items to assess the respondents' views on how likely a COVID-19 infection will affect them. Perceived severity was assessed with 3 items investigating how serious respondents assessed the consequences for their health of a COVID-19 infection to be. In total, 6 items measured the benefits respondents find in using the COVID-19 app. Based on the current debates about COVID-19 app, 2 items measured perceived barriers. This construct focused on how privacy issues raised by the app and how it could contribute to tensions among citizens with a different COVID-19 status. Next, 3 items were designed to capture self-efficacy, which is the respondents' own assessment of how easy it would be for them to use the app. In addition, the respondents' gender, status in institution, and also educational level were asked. This study would only analyze the data from descriptive point of view, such as frequency, mean, and standard deviation only, due to the limitation of time and research skill. Moving on to the research findings, as mentioned before, the questionnaire was given out to 50 respondents via an online Google form. 8 respondents are from among teachers, whereas 42 are students of different levels or batches, as shown in the table. Let's look at the findings on perceived susceptibility of COVID-19. The first item assessed is, I am at risk of being infected by the COVID-19 virus. Most of the respondents opt for neither agree nor disagree. The second item assessed is, it is likely that I would suffer from the COVID-19 virus. Majority also opted for neither agree nor disagree. The third item assessed is, it is possible that I could be infected by the COVID-19 virus. 38% also opt for neither agree nor disagree. Referring to items PSU1, PSU2, and PSU3, respondents have diverse perceptions towards perceived susceptibility of COVID-19. However, the data findings reflect that most respondents opt for neither agree nor disagree.
Greetings, I'm Atif and we're going to continue on with the research findings on perceived benefits of My Sector app. For the first item, most participants strongly agree. For the second item, nearly 90% of the respondents are on the agreement spectrum. For the third item, the majority too agree on this. On the fourth item, over 80% of the respondents agree. And for the fifth and sixth item, nearly 90% of the respondents agree. Next, for the perceived barriers of my structure study, for the first item, many respondents neither agree nor disagree, followed by 32% on the disagreement spectrum and only 20% agree. For the second item, the majority disagree as 48% of the respondents disagree, 38% was undecisive, and only 40% agreed. And lastly, for the self-efficacy during COVID-19 study, 88% of the respondents agree on the first item. For the second item, only 78% agreed, and for the third item, 94% agreed. For the summary of the research findings, we noticed that perceived susceptibility did not have significant influence on the uptake of MySjatra, despite strong belief on the perceived severity of COVID-19. Why? Probably because government's movement control order that requires schools to be temporarily closed, thus leading teachers and students to think that they are less susceptible to COVID-19. How about their uptake on perceived barriers? It did not have any significant influence, and the respondents wasn't too concerned regarding security and privacy. A reasonable explanation would be that 84% of the respondents are students, and the government of Malaysia had taken multiple initiatives to convince the public to use MySjatra. So what's making the respondents use MySjatra? Even with the perceived barriers, well, the efficacy of the app was made clear by the government, resulting to the respondents who believe that MySjatra is beneficial. Self-efficacy during COVID-19 is another reason why students and teachers of SPP Integrasi Gombak opted to uptake MySjatra app. Adequate knowledge and resources are really important to make an app successful, particularly MySjatra, which is used to combat COVID-19 in this country.
What a brilliant video presentation by Sekolah Berasrama Penuh Integrasi Gombak. However, the audience must have questions they would love to ask the presenters to discuss. Do not hesitate, please leave your questions in the chat box. We also would love to welcome our esteemed judges back on board.
Okay, firstly, we have an intriguing question from user Siti Ashira Ismail. Their inquiry reads as, how can you address apps manipulation by dishonest users? Can our presenters kindly answer?
Thank you for the question. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So we've had multiple issues on the manipulations by dishonest users, and I believe that the government has done multiple efforts to combat this, and so far this issue hasn't been something serious that the government cannot control.
An amazing response as expected. Thank you very much.
Do we have any other questions from our audience? An interesting query from user Mariam Sofia. They asked, how do you think My Sejahtera app can be improved? Can our presenters help give their opinions?
Hello. So thank you for giving me the question. So to answer the question, I think my sector app can be improved by letting people know if they have contacted people with COVID-19 before. And we should also see that if the person that we have contacted COVID-19 before had recovered from it, had been vaccinated or not. I know that it may invade someone else's privacy, but I think that this issue is much larger, that privacy should be ignored for this kind of issue.
All right, intelligent remarks from Sekolah Bahasa Penuh Integrasi Gombak. Do we have any more questions from the audience?
Looks like we have no more queries from the audience. Would the judges be kind enough to pose a few questions or leave a few remarks to our presenters?
Okay, so I have a question for you guys, Integrasi Gombak. The data that you've collected were from only 50 respondents, right? Okay, can you, what do you think? If, let's say, do you think the finding will be different if there are more respondents included, or are they the same?
Thank you, Iman, for the question. So, according to Rahi et Alia from 2019, a good sample is around 10% of the total population. And our study is focused in SDP Integrasi Gombak. And we have around 500 plus students. So we took around 50 respondents. And I think it wouldn't affect the outcome of the findings.
All right, thank you very much for the response. How about the other judges? Would you like to leave some comments to our presenters?
Okay, I think since we have time, I just want to ask you, it seems that most students and teachers in Integrasi Gombak agrees on the My Sejahtera tracing app. So do you yourself agree to have a check-in and check-out every time you go to a different location in the class, like canteens or library, schools, co-op, during when the school is back open?
Thank you for asking the question. So I will personally think that my software should be used in the public. But in SPPI Gombak, we are currently living in school dormitories where it is when the school is open, uh, we will already drop social physical distancing because of we live in dormitories. Therefore, I don't think that my Doctor app should be used in SBP Integrasi Gombak. But I do think that uh, when outsiders, such as teachers and visitors coming from outside the school, they should use my Doctor in multiple locations inside the school just to trace if there are COVID, they may spread COVID.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Hannah.
Such thorough clarification from our presenters. Are there any more questions from the audience? All right, a question from user Alex AR. They are curious, do you think the pandemic has helped to further innovation in technology?
Thank you very much for the question. And yes, I do think that it has helped to further innovation in technology, especially that in this pandemic, it is proven that there are technologies that have been advanced that are expected to be around in a few more years, but has been advanced and are used in today. So
Thank you so much for that excellent answer. I'm pretty sure the individual who asked this question is also satisfied with that brilliant answer. So let's give it up for Ahmad Atif Adham bin Muhammad Nazri and Christina Sofia binti Muhammad Zain from Sekolah Berasrama Penuh Integrasi Gombak for the great presentation and for addressing the question from the audiences and the judges successfully. Also, not to forget, we also appreciate the judges for questions that has surely given all of us some thoughts. Shamim, how many schools are here at the 9th FRSIS?
Well, Hannah, this year's FRSIS has received participation from countries such as India, Thailand, Turkey, Indonesia, Vietnam, and the Philippines. This year, a total of 105 international participants have come together in this auspicious event. In addition, the total number of participants is around 470 students comprising all 70 fully residential schools nationwide. To name a few, there are participants from Sekolah Tuanku Abdul Rahman, Sekolah Menengah Sains Miri, the Malay College, Sekolah Menengah Sains Jeli, the Royal Military College, Sekolah Berasrama Penuh Integrasi Selandar, and many others.
Wow, so many schools are here with us today. I'm glad we have so many participants gathered here to discuss interesting topics throughout our symposium. Shall we invite the next school?
Yeah, sure. So moving on with the event, we have Muhammad Irfan bin Muhammad Nasir and Sofia Nisrin binti Syaiful Nazri from Sekolah Menengah Sains Rembau in the studio right now with their video presentation on the rise of digital revolution, how COVID-19 reshaped and humanized technology. Let's enjoy the video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hello everyone. Today we are from Sekolah Menengah Sains Rembau and we would like to talk about the emergence of the digital revolution and how COVID-19 is reshaping and humanizing technology. First, I would like to present the members of our team, Muhammad Irfan, Sofia Nisrin, Abiana Amalina and Muhammad Haziq. Mr. Syed Shahriza and Madam Zati Hanani are our favorite supervisors. We like to discuss our aims, problem description, data collection, results, definition of digital divide, team-related difficulties, and conclusion in this presentation. First and foremost, what is the digital revolution? The digital revolution began in the latter half of the 20th century with the development and widespread use of digital computers and digital record-keeping and continues to this day. Following that, we have four main goals. First, to demonstrate the digital revolution's flaws and limitations. The next step is to figure out how the digital revolution is changing the face of the economy, health, education, and science and technology. Then, to examine how the digital gap persists throughout the COVID-19 outbreak. And finally, to provide remedies to the issues mentioned. We will start with the problem statement. Low literacy at income levels, lack of physical access to technology, and digital illiteracy contribute to the digital divide. The existence of the digital divide may be attributed to a number of variables, including age, geography, and money. The question is, how does digital divide affect our society in terms of economy, healthcare, education, and science and technology?
Moving on data collection. In this part, we will explore the influence of digital revolution on economy, health, education, science and technology. First of all is economy. Shown here is the data of internet usage in Malaysian society. Internet usage is split into four categories, which are personal use of internet, social media, mobile banking and government. The greatest proportion of usage is personal use of internet. Since fast-growing internet use is a stimulus for the digital economy over the year. For example, purchasing and online publicity. We are going to shift to healthcare. The figures apply to Malaysians who browse the internet for health information, which are symptoms and diseases, health tips, treatments, and pills for treatments. The Malaysian population that has sought treatment is the lowest proportion as digital revolution changes the connection between the consumer and supplier. Why? This is because the procedures presented on the internet may heal people at their own homes. As a consequence, treatments for certain diseases in hospitals and clinics are no longer necessary. Next is education. The graph shows the proportion of schools which have connection to the internet by 2014. Most schools, as can be seen, have internet connection. The internet is a high priority in school for instructional objectives. This is most probably due to the ability of internet while making the process easier to enhance learning process and techniques. For example, teachers can employ engaging educational media such as Google Meet and WebEx. The next is technology and science. According to the data between 2013 and 2015, there was a rise of 14.1% in persons using the internet for research. As a result of the digital revolution, data accessibility has improved. For example, for research purposes, a group of researchers can access enormous quantities of research data and other information via single engine like Google Scholar. Moving on to digital divide. What is digital divide? The divide between digital technology and non-digital technology in Malaysia is about the disparity. For example, person A has a larger salary compared to person B. Person A has a greater chance of paying for a laptop than person B. Person B is in disadvantages now. This is because digital gadgets, as we all know, are incredibly essential in world nowadays. Digital gadgets are available to users in a range of ways, including data access and digital business access. Turn to the issues of concern. First of all, we take a look at economy. This chart shows the challenges that traditional business owners encounter when they move to an internet firm. According to statistics, internet difficulties and a lack of understanding and interest are the most prevalent issues that they confront. But lack of internet connection is the most severe problem in this area. Rural areas are poorly covered by internet bandwidth because the government focuses less on digitalization in rural areas. Now we'll take a look at healthcare. As we can see, the data shows Medicare recipients' digital access. An individual receiving health benefits under the Medicare programs is Medicare recipient. Medicare beneficiaries have 4 kinds of digital access accessible. The 4 categories include full digital access, zero digital access, no cell phones or laptop. We can observe then that the complete or partial digital access of 56% of Medicare enrolls does not exist. For them, that's not good. As we said before, in the collecting of healthcare data, the digital revolution has made business both for customers and suppliers more efficient and easy. Next is education. This is the information about digital access in schooling at home for pupils. We can observe that there is no digital device access at home to 37% of students. It's a considerable amount of around 1.7 million pupils. Maybe you wonder why it does. The digital access in the household of students is impacted by the financial position of the parent. Science and technology are the next. These are the data used to elevate digital literacy for graduates of 5th and 8th grade. The capacity to work in the digital environment is digital literacy. Despite the government's mandate to use ICT, it cannot be assumed that all people are digitally informed because it is a practical matter. Consequently, around a half of people are digital and educated.
After various issues raised by us, how is this a problem during the COVID-19 pandemic? It all started with the Movement Control Order (MCO), which was introduced by the government on 18 March 2020 as an effort to break the network of COVID-19 infections for 14 consecutive days. Therefore, all students should undergo home-based learning and the workers have to work from home. All of this requires technology to make sure all of this runs smoothly. Now, you might ask yourself, how can we solve these problems? We can approach this problem from 2 ways, which is short-term solution and long-term solution. Majority of the problems faced by various people are internet problems and lack of device. For the short-term solution, this had already been implemented by the government, which they give free digital device to students and workers who can afford to buy the digital device. As a result, we can ease their burden by doing so. Next, Telecom gives free internet or give a discount to the less fortunate people. Although the price of SIM card is found to be cheap, but a handful of people find the internet very high in price to buy monthly. For long-term solution, we will propose a motion to the government to increase the minimum wage of workers. Thus, parents with financial problem can have the opportunity to buy their children any digital device. Other than that, we will submit proposal to the government for building communication tower in rural areas so that they have fast internet access to conduct their business efficiently. To conclude our presentation, we will take a good look at our title, How COVID-19 Reshaped and Humanized Technology. We stand by the fact that if the pandemic didn't happen, people will not realize about the digital divide problem happening in our society. Now, we know that technology should be altruistic and benefits all people and not the rich only. We also learn about the flow of digital revolution through many sectors such as economy, healthcare, education, and science and technology. However, further research is needed to find the best solution for this problem. We already made through an orderly list of reference we used during our research. You can use this list for your own purpose. That's all from us. Thank you for giving your precious time for our presentation.
I'm sure we are all amazed by the excellent video presentation from Sekolah Menengah Sains Rembau. Such an interesting topic must leave some of you wondering as to how, what, and why. Clear your heads and insert your questions in the live chat. Let us also have the judges back at the studio to accompany our question and answer session.
Alright, so firstly we have queries from user Nur Aina Fariha binti Ruslan. They are asking, slowly we are moving from phase 4.0 to 5.0 in digital revolution. What are the preparations that we should do to be ready for the next phase? Our presenters, please help clear the air.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, the preparations that we should to be ready for the next phase of digital revolution is we need to add more internet connection in the rural areas so the digital revolution can be happen also in rural areas instead of in city.
Alright, thank you very much for the given answer.
Next in line, user Afifa Zulkarnain is curious about should we continue to humanize technology? Can our presenters help give some clarification?
Thank you for the question. So the question is, should we continue to humanize technology? So in my opinion, we should continue to humanize technology since technology are supposed to be is human activities such as from we are hard to go through a journey to a long to a far place. Instead we can use a car to shorten the time of the journey. So in my opinion again, we should continue to humanize technology so all kind of humanity can access those technology.
Such crystal clear explanation. Thank you for the response, presenter. Do we have any more questions from our audience?
Okay, next up we have a question from user Kride Sharma. They are asking, can you share a memorable experience during the process of your research for this project?
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. There's a lot of memorable experience during the process of our research for this project. For example, like we need to do a lot of research for searching for the suitable data, suitable statistic, so we can put in our presentation so people would know the true data and statistic that happen in Malaysia.
Thank you very much for the very clear explanation.
Looks like we have no more questions from the audience. Can our judges pose a few commentaries or maybe ask some questions?
All right. May I?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you were showing to us a lot of statistic in terms of health, education, economy, science, and technology. But I'm wondering if did you conduct any specific research by your own team? Who is your respondent or whatsoever that regarding to the topic regarding to the topic, because I'm wondering how do you get all the statistic just to show the specific area. You get what I mean?
Yes. May I answer the question?
Yeah, sure.
Um, so to make this clear, actually those information we got from the past research, such as actually our main methodology is a systematic review in which we screen the abstracts of the past research made by the researchers from various universities, and we identified and collect all the necessary data and informations for our research, and we compile it together uh, to show to the audience.
A spectacular delivery of justification. I'm sure the question has been answered. So, do we have any more questions from our judges for our presenters?
Before we wrap up our question and answer session for the team from Sekolah Menengah Sains Rembau, we would like to thank our presenters Muhammad Irfan bin Muhammad Nasir and Sofia Nisrin binti Syaiful Nazri for addressing the audience and the judges' curiosity successfully. We also appreciate the presence of our judges throughout our question and answer session. Well, Hannah, would you please explain to me regarding the vision for FRSIS?
The vision for FRSIS is to create world-class leaders. Consequently, FRSIS has always been a platform to develop effective leaders who are not only aware of the current issues, but are also able to apply their knowledge in solving problems effectively. With the participation of students from all around the world, our focus for today is encouraging the communication of our thoughts and opinions in an organized manner.
Such a clear goals for today's event. I believe the skills attained from today's activities are also crucial in becoming world leaders. So, shall we move to the next tip?
Before that, Shamim, regarding the presentations today, I find it very interesting because all the schools have different takes on our sub-theme, the rise of digital revolution.
Oh, I thought so too, Hannah, because the teams created presentations from very different angles. There were some discussing healthcare, there were some who talked about education, businesses, applications. It's all very informative and thought-provoking.
Although the pandemic created restrictions for our daily lives, it also sped up the growth for the digitization of industries because Google Classroom, e-commerce apps, they've been around for quite some time. But this pandemic is the perfect opportunity to boost their relevance in our world.
Exactly. If some felt that Industrial Revolution 4.0 wasn't moving as fast as we estimated, the pandemic definitely skyrocketed technological advancements and increased consumer base considering we all are dependent on digital services and instruments.
Exactly, Shamim. So now, can we move on with our next school?
Yes, sure. So carrying on with today's symposium, let's give a warm welcome to our next presenters, Manav Bhatia and Gaurang Goyal from St. Mark's Senior Secondary Public School, Mirabal, India. And let us continue with watching their video presentation entitled The Rise of Digital Revolution. Please welcome.
Greetings everyone, my name is Shubh Mahajan.
Greetings everyone, I am Prabh Vora.
Greetings everyone, I am Gaurang Goyal.
Greetings everyone,
I am Manav Bhatia, and we all are from St. Mark's Senior Secondary Public School, Meerabad, New Delhi, India.
The digital revolution is far more significant than the invention of writing or even printing. This was rightly quoted by Douglas Engelbart because in this pandemic situation, we could see that not only education but many other activities shifted toward digital mode.
We chose this topic to focus on key areas of digital revolution and how it has witnessed a rise during the pandemic. Due to the COVID-19 outbreak, followed by lockdowns worldwide, many businesses shifted to the digital mode. The Indian government came up with new solutions of payment like e-rupee was launched. Also, work from home was promoted amidst this time.
Now, the major question arises, what is digital revolution? Digital revolution, also known as the third industrial revolution, is a shift from mechanical and analog electronic technology to digital electronics, which began in the later half of the 20th century.
From the given pie chart, we can observe that 71.40% of people are aware of the term digital revolution, while 21.40% of people are not aware of the term digital revolution, and 7.10% people are not sure whether they have heard this term or not.
We began our research by collecting the information on how our world witnessed a digital revolution during this pandemic. We conducted surveys through questionnaires from which the data was collected and analyzed. We conducted surveys to gauge the representativeness of views and experiences of people. To understand the opinions of family members, businessmen, and teachers, we conducted various online as well as live interviews following the precautions.
During this pandemic, work from home has become a common part of our life. Being an engineer to a common businessman, everyone has been shifted to an online mode. Due to work from home, people are not only safe in their households but are also close with their family members in these devastating times. Thus, we can say that it is only because of digital revolution, whatever problem arises, work shall never stop. That is why pandemic is also considered as a blessing in disguise for digital revolution. From the survey we conducted, it can be seen that about 60% of the people were aware of the apps like Microsoft Teams, Zoom, etc. before the pandemic. On the other hand, there were about 40% of the people who were not aware. During the pandemic, the screen time of an average individual has increased a lot. The following pie chart shows the screen time of an average individual during a particular day.
E-Rupee is a digital payment solution launched by NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India, in which payments can be made as easily by scanning a QR code. This is a very helpful tool because it has now made payments much more easier. From the given pie chart, we can observe that 28.60% people prefer offline payment and 71.40% people prefer digital payments. In this pie chart, we can observe that 71.40% of people feel that development in digital market is important and 28.60% people feel that development in digital market is not important.
As the digital shift was observed, so were the consequences felt. Due to lack of purchasing power, many of the lower income groups could not afford laptops or good internet connections, which affected their overall development. On an interrogation with them, majority of them responded that they were not aware of the term digital revolution. Yet they somewhat knew about it, as they were connected through social media apps like WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. So we can conclude that for lower income groups, the rise in digital revolution was evident, while it was not the case with most of them. The graph here shows that internet access was low among economic vulnerable groups. Globally, only 24% people of high economic vulnerable groups could afford internet connection. Many of them even did not have good internet connection. In developing economies like India, only 21% people of high economic vulnerable groups could afford internet access in some or other way. While considered of developed economies like the USA and Australia, 77% people of high economic vulnerable groups could afford internet access, which was even more than global 74% of low economic vulnerable groups.
In the market trend as well. I think sales of digital items has also increased. What are your comments on that?
Yes, of course. I mean, everybody was on online platform, and there was a time when about 4-5 months ago, I think last lockdown, there was a shortage of all the digital equipments like laptops and other things.
I think online is better. Within such a short span of a time, you can do a number of activities, and there's nothing can stop you, weather or anything. You don't have to go there, and you don't have to find out, I need to have a holiday to go to that bank and then to stand in the queue and to do that. I think online is better.
Are you aware of the term digital revolution? Yes, very good. And do you prefer payment through online mode or offline mode? Yes, we prefer payment only. So through our project, we observed that the digital sector of the economy had a considerable surge, resulting in the rise of digital revolution. As the market switched to digital mode, demand for digital products grew considerably. With the introduction of new apps, the use of online apps has increased as well. People are now also preferring digital payments more as compared to offline payments.
Therefore, we can conclude that the rise in digital revolution was evident to only those who could afford to go digital. People from lower socioeconomic categories who lacked access to digital technologies suffered. People were able to make cashless payments after the introduction of e-rupee, which aided in both prevention from virus and provided a rapid way of payment. It was made feasible only due to digital revolution.
Thank you so much to St. Mark's Senior Secondary Public School, Mirabah, India, for an exceptional video presentation. Hopefully, the viewers gain new insight today. To resume with our event, let us have the audience to ask a few questions in the chat box. And of course, an appreciative welcome to our respected judges for making time and effort to lead us throughout the day.
Okay, so firstly, we have a question from user Hasha Arena. They are asking, in your opinion, how can you help people who are facing difficulties in using technology for education purpose? Our presenters, please help clear the air.
Thank you for the question. Uh, the people who are facing difficulties in using technology for education purposes, these problems are being solved by the government. We are reaching out to as many people as possible, and we are going towards digitalization.
All right, thank you very much for the great explanation.
Do we have any more questions from our audience? All right. The next question is from user Marsha Munawar. They are asking, does the advantages of digital technology outweighs the disadvantages? Can our presenters leave their remarks?
Yes, definitely. Advantages of digital technology do outweigh the disadvantages, though there are many disadvantages like cyberbullying or hacking. But advantages of digital technology are immense, and they do help us in even in these circumstances of COVID.
Perfectly worded. Thank you very much, presenter, for that explanation.
Okay, next up, we have a question from user Shub Mahajan. They are curious about what do you conclude from your research work?
We conclude from
Yes,
our research
we
work
con- we
that
conclude
everyone has shifted to the
we
digital
conclude from
mode.
our research.
It's okay, presenters. One of you can answer, please.
Yes, ma'am. We conclude from our research work that most of the people have shifted from offline to online mode. Like businessmen start selling their products on the online shopping malls like Amazon, Flipkart, OLX, and other apps. So people think that it is good that
I would like to add a point that we can conclude from our research work that many people have shifted to the digital mode. In these devastating times, digital mode have helped a global connection with all the people, and we can have virtual talks on apps like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and many businesses which were on the brink of closing down. They have shifted to the digital mode, and it has been a narrow escape.
All right, thank you very much for the very great explanation. So now I would like to invite any of the judges who would like to pose a few questions or leave any remarks to our presenters.
All right, I have one questions. You as a students personally, how far your acceptance towards this digital revolution, especially on online learning?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, thank you for this question. Digital revolution has really helped us in these times precisely, but we have learned various things online as well. Like I have personally learned on many to operate many apps of Microsoft, like MS Word and MS Teams. So we have been able to do things which we couldn't have imagined of.
Is there any limitation
Yes,
while
ma'am.
you are do-
The
I
biggest
like to
limitation
add one
that
point also. We
sure.
also
All right, presenter, please carry on with your answer.
the biggest limitation that we faced. Yes, ma'am. The biggest limitation that we faced during this pandemic was that we were not able to meet each other, and the people that we interviewed were very difficult to set the time of their free time that we can take them to take their interview, and the surveys were also conducted. It was good for us, but there were not as such limitations, but there were limitations like we can't meet, we uh, we were difficult to use the apps, like we were new to some apps like Google Meet, Zoom, and many more.
All right, thank you very much for that thorough clarification, presenter. We appreciate your energy today. So thank you to our presenters Manav Bhatia and Gaurang Goyal from St. Mark's Senior Secondary Public School, Mirabag, India, for the great presentation and for addressing the question from the audience and the judges. We also would like to thank the judges for the positive feedback that has surely given some audience guidance to the presenters.
Before we moving on to the next school, does the audience want to know a fun fact? The sub-theme for Fully Residential Schools International Symposium are related to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals outlined by the United Nations. This track, however, is specifically focused on the ninth SDG, which is to build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation.
That's interesting information, Shamim. Simultaneously, we are encouraging students to realize the problems society has to face and how innovation in technology affects them for the better or for worse. And finally, have them to think outside the box and create possible solutions. So, Shamim, since our topic is about the rise of digital revolution, the first thing that crossed my mind about this topic is online shopping, as everyone is using it as a platform to purchase products, right? So I just want to know your opinion about how the rise in online shopping can affect the profit of the sellers who sell their products in physical stores.
Well, I think it kind of gives quite a big impact on the physical store sellers because we have reached the trend where people did not go to the shop and they stay at home at all the time while browsing through online shopping platform. As we all know, we are currently in a MCO, so basically we can't go out to buy our stuffs, right? So basically, I think the physical store sellers might lose their source of income as people can't go to the mall and buy any of their products. So basically, I feel bad for them though.
I get your point, Shamin, but I feel like as we move on with our day and age, right, we need to shift over our strategies in terms of advertising and our platforms to sell our products. So I feel like a lot of these businesses are starting to shift from their physical stalls to online shopping platforms. Don't you think so?
Yes, it's true. I mean, we can see that there are a lot of small restaurants on and cafes that started to use platforms like Foodpanda and GrabFood to sell their products.
All right, Shamin, this is a very interesting conversation, but why don't we call upon the next school?
Yes, all right. So next in order, welcome on board Muna Hafi Saliha Nur Zanna binti Nur Helmi and Nur Aisha Natasha binti Muzammil from Sekolah Menengah Sains Pasir Putih to proceed with their well-prepared video presentation with the title of The Effects of Business Digitalization in Promoting Economic Growth Among Kelantanese Families. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I hope everyone has a great day. We are from Pasir Putih Science Middle School and we are very delighted to enlighten you about the impacts of digitalization in promoting economic growth among Kelantanese families. Hi everyone, before we reveal further about our research, I, Nurisha, will share with you some spoilers about what we will highlight after this. This video contains 5 subtopics and for each one, we have carefully and thoroughly researched and prepared. First of all, we will be with Saliha, who is going to state our problem statement for our research. She will also give you the definition and explain the context of our research. Next, Natasha will guide you through the methodologies that we have adapted in making our research a success. Next, that's me. I will be with you again to share the details of our research outcomes. I am sure you will be delighted upon learning our outcomes. Lastly, Shatana is going to suggest some recommendations relating to our research topic and conclude our presentation. Please sit back, relax, and stay with us throughout the presentation, as I'm sure you will find this a great learning opportunity.
I am Natasha Muzamel, and I'll be sharing about our team's research aim. Ladies and gentlemen, our team's research topic for FRSIS 2021, the impacts of business digitalization in promoting economic growth among Kelantanese families. When the need for digital revolution increases, and the usage of it doubles or even triples. Do you know what are the digitalization impacts on the economic growth among the Cantonese families? And why do we aim Cantonese families for our research? Let me enlighten you. Our main reason is Kelantan is often labelled as quite behind in terms of technology and development. Truth is, with MCO being imposed, many business owners in Kelantan start to use digital platforms to sell their products. For example, to ease both customers and sellers, food delivery services through online platforms are widely used in Kelantan, such as Foodpanda, GrabFood, and not to forget the newly developed local app Order Makan and Halal Delivery. In fact, micro business owners also start offering services via WhatsApp and WeChat. Even villagers can now get some fresh vegetables and seafood sent to their door just by making a call. You must be wondering why we wanted to do this research, right? Our major inspiration to conduct this research is because we have witnessed the obvious, huge, and very evident changes that digitalization has brought upon our Cantonese community. Therefore, we want to share all about it with the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by iterating our research background. We believe it will be convenient to divide our research into two main issues. The problems faced by our research respondents before the pandemic and Kelantanese knowledge about digital business platforms. The respondents I referred to are customers, business owners, and online business workers, namely delivery staff, customer service staff, and literally any staff who are manning a virtual business. This may include restaurant staff and huge mall staff too. Now let's build each layer of the original issues. Let us begin with customers, shall we? Before the MCO measures incorporated restrictions on public movement and most other activities, people used to go to shops, restaurants, and malls as they like. Family, friends, colleagues, and even long-lost classmates all gathered at hotels and tourist spots, spending time together while enjoying the blessings of carefree work. Some people even passed in the pleasure of going window shopping, wandering around for hours only to come home empty-handed. This had brought fun and joy other than profits and marketing for business owners. Does the same impact burden business workers? Earlier, when life was good and COVID-19 wasn't here, most of them were underpaid as most people preferred physical shopping. Now that citizens can no longer go out by themselves, more and more people are turning into online services. These workers have become the frontliner, exposing themselves to the possibilities of contracting the virus while making a living. Hats off to these unsung heroes, risking their lives for our comfort at home. Based on some data we have collected, it is proven that digital business platforms are now more frequently utilized and recognized better than before the pandemic. Many people used to not open online stores nor offer online services as they lack of knowledge on how to manage an online business. They thought that relying on technology was not necessary as nobody saw the pandemic coming. COVID has not only opened the eyes but changed the lives of our respondents in immediate ways. We believe that this has allowed a spurt of economic growth in these people's life. Economic growth is defined as a rise in an amount and quality of products and services produced and consumed by a community. For our project, we will show you how COVID-19 helps boost the economic growth among Kelantanese families. The financial gains of the customers, business owners, and delivery workers are rocketing since digitalization continues to grow.
I'll be outlining about what methods did we use for our research, the research process, and how we collected our data. For your information, this research was conducted using quantitative and qualitative methods. To collect the data, we used Google Forms to create questionnaires, and we also did some interviews with the locals. As for the questionnaires, we prepared 3 different questionnaires to cater to 3 different categories, which are customers, online and delivery service workers, and business owners. The questions we provided were mostly simple to understand. Most just required respondents to say yes or no, but there were also a few questions that required long response. Apart from that, we have also prepared the questions in 2 languages, which is English and Bahasa Melayu. This was mainly because we figured that not all of our locals could understand and speak English fluently. Next, we conducted some interviews with business owners. We believe that interviews are very important to collect genuine responses for our research, as the interview sessions were impromptu and unstructured. Hence, we could ask more questions in response to our respondents' feedback, giving us deeper understanding about our research topic. The best highlight of the interview was when we got to speak to Mr. Wan Yusofuan Jeffrey, the CEO of Mona Lisa Malaysia. These are some sample questions that we had asked in the Google form and our interview session. Most of these questions were derived from established researchers relating to COVID-19 pandemic effects and economic impact, and we had run a pilot test among a small group of respondents before further amending some questions for better impact. Next, these are some sneak peeks of the interview sessions we had arranged with our local business honest. During the interviews, majority of the respondents agreed that by digitalizing their businesses, they have improved a lot after it once fluctuated when COVID-19 pandemic began.
Oh, hey there, you are with me again, the same person, a different topic. Based on the data that we collected from a survey via Google Form, I have some proof to prove my points that technology use is now rising dramatically, especially during the pandemic. This pie chart shows the difference between customers' frequency in ordering goods online before and after the COVID-19 pandemic. From the data, we get to see the huge difference. The majority of our customer respondents, which is 76.6%, are now shopping online more frequently compared to before. On the other hand, a total of 10.6% customer claim that they are shopping online less frequently now, but clearly they fail in comparison with the majority statistics. Lastly, as much as 12.8% of the customer state that their habit of online shopping has not changed over the time. It is safe to assume that this percentage is contributed by those who have been familiar with online shopping since before the pandemic. Let's move on to the next slide. The next statistic strongly agrees with the statement, as 97.9% of the respondents believe that there are more online businesses after COVID-19 began. This is most likely due to the fact that most business owners start to implement technology in promoting their businesses online to keep their businesses going. Many have changed the direction of their promoting and ordering system by utilizing social networking sites, websites, and other forms of virtual means.
To wrap up, the rise of the digital revolution actually affects every single aspect of life directly and imminently. It has caused a large number of people to live a stressful life, all depressed and anxious because of the pandemic constraints. We decide to relate technology and economy because it involves several parties who normally don't use much technology, but now have chosen to explore the digital world just to make a living. Most of Kelantanis, such as business owners, riders, and customers, agree with the statement the digital world helps us in many aspects, especially our normal lives. It is evident that most Kelantanese families have survived from these economic issues with the aid of technology. As an example, about 60% of citizens in Kelantan make money as part-time riders and are able to make money up to 600 ringgit Malaysia per month. Regardless of age, more Kelantanese families have begun to utilize more digital platforms such as Odamakan. This app, for one, is specifically designed to cater to Kelantanese family. Personally, more of these kind of applications should be made available. They are tailor-made to Kelantanese contexts and are more user-friendly too. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a hit for those seeking jobs and business owners with limited English proficiency, and most importantly, customers. Everybody benefits from the technology. Indeed, this is even more imminent during this pandemic. It has allowed us to experience the same feeling we once had before, as well as continue living like we used to. With the help of technology, we got to sustain a good social life and economy.
What a captivating and creative video research from Sekolah Menengah Sains Pasir Putih. To the audience, do not hesitate to ask questions and type it out in the live chat. We are sure the presenters are glad to answer them. Without further ado, let us also invite our respected judges to the studio.
Alright, so firstly we have a question from user Nurul Nadianawi. They're asking, how can we encourage competitiveness to create world-class product? Our presenters, please help clear the air.
I presume that for business owners and employees, it would be great if they search out for mentors because learning is easier when we have someone to guide, someone who has done business before, and yeah, it helps them to to it helps them through it, and also they should be passionate about research, about doing the research because it's important too. So you might not feel like it's a job or a task. You might feel fun when learning about them.
An intelligent remarks as expected. Thank you very much.
Moving on, there is an inquiry from user Diana Alia. They asked, as all of the world is facing the pandemic, if you are to be a CEO of a service company, such as promoting communication services, how do you propose to upskill your company through digital means? Can our presenter leave their opinion?
There are tons of media socials that can be used in medias such as Facebook, because I've seen a lot of business workers, business owners advertise their work, advertise their company there. And yeah, what we've seen, that they have people are from the advertisement, people are encouraged to join them. And yeah, I think, and we've seen that the company has risen up in employment.
An interesting commentary from our presenter. Shirley has given me some new method to ponder upon. Now moving on, can we have our judges to pose a few questions for our presenter today?
Okay, well here I have one remarks, not a question actually. Okay, or maybe Miss Nurul want to ask first?
No. Please do.
Okay,
Give your remarks
so
first.
honestly, I would say that I do agree that Kelantanis many years ago they love doing businesses. So in fact, they also do have possess great buying power. So this actually really helps their state economy growth. Okay, so I remember 5 years ago I went back to Kelantan for Aidilfitri celebration in Kota Baru. So I found out that secret
Right.
recipe they managed to sell daily cakes about 80 to 100 daily cakes. So imagine what would happen if we have a digital businesses going on. So that's my remark.
Okay,
Thank you for
upon
the
saying that, yes, moderator. Upon
thank you for
saying
the
that,
remark, Miss. I'm sorry. Please
okay.
continue, Miss Nurfazina.
Upon saying that, kebetulan, I'm thinking of what do you guys actually think would happen to Pasar Khadijah and Bazar Bulu Kubu in the long run if everything is digitalized?
Good question.
For Pasar Siti Khadijah and all those markets like it, I think it will be face something advancement in the future. But realizing that the shoppers there, the sellers there were like old age, so I think they might face a little bit advancement, but not like the physical shops other than the pasar, the markets like it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
to
you
our
very
presenter.
much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you to our presenter and our judges for such an exciting question and answer session today. So with that concludes our question and answer session for Sekolah Menengah Sains Pasir Puteh. Thank you to our presenter Muna Hafizaliha Nurjannah for addressing the question from the audience and the judges. We also would like to express our deepest gratitude to our judges for giving the presenters comments and insights that has shed new light to all of us. While waiting for the next school, here is a tad bit about this year's FRSIS. The themes for this year is COVID-19 gains and losses. There are 6 sub-themes under it. The sub-themes for track 1, 2, and 3 respectively are COVID-19, a paradigm shift in teaching and learning, global economic consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic, and COVID-19, the rise in digital revolution.
As for track 4, the sub-theme is healthcare innovation and mental health anxiety management during the pandemic. Track 5 is discussing climate crisis and change during the pandemic, the promise of a better tomorrow. And lastly, track 6 focuses social impacts of COVID-19 on a nation's well-being.
Fascinating topics we're exploring today, Shamim. Let us welcome the next school on board.
Yes, so for our last but definitely not least school, let's give it up to the next presenters, Adam Iskandar bin Redauddin and Muhammad Haris Afiq bin Muhammad Haizat from Sekolah Menengah Sains Tunku Abdullah. with their video presentation on Digital Breaks Millennium to resume today's event. Let's enjoy.
Welcome and hi everyone. We are the Studies Crusaders from Sekolah Menengah Sains Sangka Abdullah. We'll be presenting our topic which is Digital Break Millennium. Our project advisor is Teacher Nur Jamaatin Abdullah Umar. I'm Nur Zahira Balkis and my teammates are Nazaratul Alia, Adam Iskandar and Haris Afiq.
I am going to start with the introduction. COVID-19 that had its outbreak in our country last year has worsened. Digital revolution occurred due to this situation to help us and the frontliners. As for example, the usage of online call apps is increasing, new apps were developed, and new digital tools were created to make sure our health are in optimum condition.
Our purpose of research are to study about how COVID-19 has affected the digital revolution in Malaysia, to study pros and cons about digital revolution, and to study how technology caused new normal in our daily life. We use three methods to do our research. Number one, a survey has been conducted among 70 Malaysian citizens. Number two is browsing the internet. We use the internet to search for articles and information. Number three is reading articles. We read and found many useful information from the articles.
Next is the result. For the qualitative result, which are evidence from the article, the first one is learning is popularly carried out using Google Meet, Google Classroom, and Zoom. Other platforms include Class Dojo, Seesaw, Quizzes, Wordwall, SmartSuite, and many more. Secondly, from the website article, we found out that digital technologies has been used widely during the pandemic. And finally, digitalization is increasingly useful for small and medium enterprises to improve efficiency and competitiveness.
The second one is the quantitative results which we gain from the survey results. Firstly, the most familiar technologies among the societies is My Sejahtera app. As you can see here, 99% of the respondents answered that they are familiar with this app. This shows that digital revolution does play a huge role in our daily life. As for the other technologies, more than half of the respondents answered that they are familiar with the oximeter, automatic hand sanitizer dispenser, and also camera temperature scanner, which is used for COVID-19 prevention. The second one, digital technology has revolutionized during this pandemic. 68 out of 70 respondents answered that they agree that digital technology does revolutionize during this pandemic, while the others two did not agree with it. The third one, digital technology is helpful during the pandemic, and 66 out of 70 people agree that it is helpful during the pandemic, while the others 4 did not agree with it.
Furthermore, these are some pros and cons of digital revolution. For pros, it increases the knowledge, helps us interact and ensure our safety. First, increases the knowledge. Digital technology exceedingly increases the knowledge at our fingertips. Nowadays, every household owns at least a mobile phone because we all need it for daily use. For example, we use it to find materials for schoolwork or assignment and to know what is going on all around this world, like this COVID-19 pandemic. Not only that, we can also get information faster and can even expand our knowledge not only in the country but also issues abroad. The information we obtain is also not only accurate, but we are given many options that we can choose from. These are some society's thoughts and examples. As you can see, these two students agree that digital revolution is very important during this COVID-19 situation, since students and workers have to study and work from home. Moreover, there are many sophisticated and useful applications nowadays, so it's easier for students to do research and for business companies to promote their products.
Next is digital revolution also help us interact without being in contact with others during this COVID-19. It's because we all can access our family and friends even if they are miles away. During this COVID-19 phase, the Malaysia government has ordered all sectors to close including school and office to prevent from spreading the virus more. These online platforms are not only preventing us from spreading the disease, but still in contact with others. As you can see here, these students agree that digital revolution help us in communicating with our friends and relatives, conducting meetings, and also shopping. And these are examples of video calls, ordering foods online, and online shopping. And lastly, it ensures our safety. Digital revolution helps us to monitor our health status and also locates the nearest hospitals and clinics that provide tests and treatment. Not only that, apps such as MySejahtera offers vaccination registration, appointment date, and daily COVID-19 cases. Moreover, this application enables Ministry of Health to monitor and aware of user health condition and take immediate action in providing the treatment needed efficiently. It can also help us to know the current status of a place, whether it is a high risk or low risk place, and control the spread. These are some of the thoughts that agree with us. And these are is example of checking into a place, vaccination registration and appointment, and locating nearby hospitals.
These are the cons of digital revolution. First is complexity. Some people don't understand the working of the devices and machines that we interact on a daily basis. Using a phone can involve tackling all sorts of complicated settings. A minor glitches in the operation of a laptop can cost both time and expenses. These are some of the society thoughts. As we can see, a teacher is having problem with Google Meet and have bad connection. A family can't afford a new gadget and the gadget they're using now are laggy and old. And people with disabilities or old people are having a hard time to adapt with digital revolution. The example of complexity we will face is it is because of our lack of IT skills and also bad internet connection. Secondly is work overload. Many people nowadays spend their days trying to keep up with the hundred of emails that they are sent each week, all of which require reading and some of which require replies or action. Organizing large amount of digital data required in some jobs such as minutes of meeting, classes, photograph, reports, and instructions can also be a huge problem. As we can see, a university student is having a hard time because the lecturer gave her numerous assignments and quizzes that required to turn in a few days. This can affect her mental health and lose interest in studying. The problem of work overload is that there will be many missing tasks and too much messages that will interrupt our daily life. Lastly, is privacy concern. It's because it's become much harder to have personal privacy in the digital world, and that's on top of the dangers of your personal data being stolen or sold. For instance, everybody has the ability to take photos and video footage on their mobile phone, then post it online. People can search for others online and maybe find unflattering photographs or controversial opinions in social media or blogs. Controlling your personal information is very difficult and sometimes impossible. These are the society thoughts. As we can see, someone has logged into respondent's social media account without her permission, and another respondent said her friend made fun of her old post that she can't delete because she can't even access her account and it was so embarrassing for her. The problem that we face are hacking and suspicious logins.
Summing up, digital revolution has been a tremendous help to us even before the pandemic and it has become our daily necessities these days. For instance, we use online websites such as Shopee, Lazada, and Zalora to shop since we can't do it physically. We also use online platforms such as Google Meet and Zoom to learn, work, and be in contact with others from home. Despite all those benefits, digital revolution obviously has its own consequences as mentioned before. Digital technology and its revolution plays a big role in our life, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, and has become the things we look up to every day. Therefore, we really hope that digital revolution can help break millennium and give us a ray of hope for a better future.
That's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and goodbye.
We are so privileged to have ended our third session with such an incredible video presentation from Sekolah Menengah Sains Tengku Abdullah. As usual, if the viewers have any questions or concerns, do voice it out in the chat box. And let us also call upon our judges to administer some guidance for our presenters through commentaries and questions we can all dwell on.
Okay, so firstly, we have a question from user Azuhaida. They're asking what are the consequences of using the content without the permission of the author? Our presenters, please kindly answer.
Am I voice clear?
Yes, you are
So
audible.
the question is, what are the consequences of using the content without the permission of the author? So I think the consequences is the content might be taken down by the higher authority because of the Copyright Act.
All right, thank you very much for the intelligent remarks.
Moving on, there is an inquiry from user Siti Ashira Ismail. They asked, what do you think about the Digital Millennium Copyright Act? Our presenters, please help give us justifications. Presenters, do you need a few moments to collect your thoughts?
Wait.
Okay, moving on to the next question. We have from user Ilya Maisara. They're asking, how do you define digital revolution?
How do you define digital revolution? So, digital revolution is defined um, is from the revolution because the device and technology are evolving each year by year, and time by time.
Thank you very much for the given answer.
Do we have any more questions from our audience? Considering there are no more questions, can we have our judges to leave a few remarks or maybe pose some inquiries for our presenters?
All right. May I?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, from your finding, I saw in your video that you mentioned about 70 respondents, correct?
Yes.
Correct me?
Yes,
70
that's correct.
respondents. But I'm wondering, who is your respondents?
Our respondent
The
contains
respondent,
Who is your respondents? What is your target respondents? From what age to what age? Why you choose that respondents?
for our survey, we choose from among our friends in school, our teachers, their relative, and their relative from the universities. We choose them because they are the main people in the victim in this digital revolution because they were badly affected during this pandemic.
All right. Thank you, presenter, for the excellent explanation. Do we have any more questions from our judges for our last school for today?
Okay, I have one here. So recently, the news, the government, everything, they are talking about Personal Data Protection Act, PDPA. So when things are going digitalized, so people tend to put their information inside the device and inside the website, right? So there will be any possibility that the information will be leaked, for other people to use. So what is your opinion? Your suggestion that we can actually protect against this leakage?
In my opinion, we should never post it our personal information such as passwords and email address to public, because it may lead to data leakage, and it can be used and it can be sold to other people.
All right, thank you very much for the great response. So that concludes the question and answer session for Sekolah Menengah Sains Tunku Abdullah. We would like to thank Adam Iskandar and Muhammad Haris Hafiq for the great presentation and for addressing the question from the judges and the audience. We also would like to thank the judges for accompanying us throughout this question and answer session. Before we end our symposium, we would like to inform the viewers that there is an online quiz link pinned in the chat box. We have different sets of questions according to the tracks. If you manage to answer 80% of the questions correctly, an international achievement certificate will be waiting for you. Make sure to not miss out on this amazing opportunity.
Unfortunately, despite the interesting presentations and question and answer sessions, all good things must come to an end. This marks the end of our symposium for today. Hopefully, these research presentations have shed new light and given us new insights on the issues involving the COVID-19 pandemic. We will resume with more research sharing tomorrow at the same time as today's sessions. Signing off, I'm Hana Atika.
And I'm Shamim Haroy.
With that, we thank you.
Till again.